Up, YouTube? It's your boy Skinny D, aka Peanut Head Shawty, and it's hot than a bitch in Texas, man. But anyways, as promised, I was gonna give you guys a little tutorial on how to master an FL Studio without using any external programs or whatnot. So let's go ahead and get started. That's just a little sample of what we're working with. Here goes a better preview of the beat. Alright, so first off, you need to have your tracks mixed accordingly. Make sure all your levels are right. Everything sounds, perfect to your ears. I'm not going to really go over mixing too much because, I have a tutorial on pretty much how to quick mix, but I will go over some of the main points. Number one, make sure your bass line is, mastered at around -10 dB, about right here along this range. And I'll give you a preview of that real quick. And also make sure your hi-hat and your snare, make sure your snare is around -5 to -7 dB. Make sure your hi-hats are in between -8 and -5 dB. If you live by that rule, your mixes will, come out sounding great. But let me just give you a demonstration of that. See, my bass is around -10. My hi-hat's a little low on this one. My snare is around, -8, -5. So, I mean, that's pretty much, a standard when mixing. Like I said, you live by that template, your mixes are going to come out great. Another thing is when you're going through and mixing your instruments, don't leave them panned in the center. What I mean panned in the center is like, absolute dead center. Pan them to the left and right. That way you get a fuller sound. And plus, it's very important that you do this because when you go to lay down the vocals, you don't want it too much crap in the middle. Then your mix comes out sounding all muddled and, you can't hear. It's kind of impossible to blend the vocals into the mix. So with that said, go ahead and pan all of your, you know, instruments accordingly. You don't have to pan it all the way to the left or all the way to the right. Just pan it a little bit so that it kind of gives off a stereo effect. The only things that should be in the center are your, your bass, your trunk hits, your snare, and, your hats or whatever. I got a couple of samples in there that are, pretty much dead center, but that's because I use them a lot for the chorus in this song as well. Alright, so, once your mix is done, another thing that you will need to do is you'll need to isolate your frequencies on each of your tracks. So pretty much how you do that is, once you've added something to a mixer track or, to your mixer track, you can go, to this window, highlight something, hold down Control, press L, it assign it to a new mixer track. And from here, what you want to do is you'd want to open up like a parametric EQ 2 or whatever. Listen to your track play. And pretty much just adjust your frequencies, accordingly. Some things that'll help out your bass, is pretty much, the parametric EQ2 helps out a lot. See, because, I have like a boost right there and a boost right there, and then, I kind of make it cut out at around, 500 or whatnot. So that gives my kick some thump, but, you can repeat this process with all of your other instruments until everything's sounding great. Next thing you want to do after you pretty much have everything mixed is normally you would export your mix to a WAV file. and then open up another project in FL Studio and drag it in here. But since I only have 10 minutes through YouTube, I'm just going to go ahead and work on the master track. So pretty much go ahead, open up your mixer, go click this icon up here, open up your mixer, click on your master track, and you want to load these plugins. You want to load the parametric EQ2, a fruity compressor, a multi-band compressor, another parametric EQ2, and a fruity limiter. Now I have this preset FL Studio template. What you can do is you can go ahead and save this as your preset. That way you don't have to reopen every one by themselves again, if that makes any sense. Makes your work more efficient. Alright, so with these guys open, let's go ahead and explain what they do. So for your parametric EQ2, what you usually want to do is you want to go ahead and, go to presets. You can select any one of these. You can adjust them accordingly. Let me go back so you can see that preset. Go to your presets. Let's just choose 30 through 18. Really quick, and basically what this does is this cuts out the really high frequencies and then the low rumbles or whatnot. What I usually like to do is click this little circle. If you hover your mouse over the end of this curve, click it and then scroll down on your mouse, it gives a little boost on the bass end, because you're cutting all the rumble, but you still want your bass to come in and hit hard, clean, and clear. So I usually do that to arc that curve up right there. So now when I play the song, you can see the bass frequency right there, it's hitting pretty hard. Next thing you want to do is you want to open up your fruity compressor. Now there's a pretty nice compressor preset. I like the Opto Master. Basically this is a gain reduction way of mastering, and I like to turn my release down a little for hip hop, because you want the bass line to be kind of punchy, and you typically want things to be kind of punchy, but if you're doing a different type of song, then it's really up to you. So with that preset, kind of reduces your peaks a little bit, kind of levels things out. You can lower this a little bit, as much as you want. It doesn't need to be very loud at this stage, because that's what our limiter down there is for. Your multi-band compressor is going to be the next thing. Let's go ahead, open up another preset. Let's do compression 1.9. Basically your multi-band compressor is going to be like a really strong tool when it comes down to fine-tuning your mix, because you can specify your frequency ranges right here, of what your bands. You can define your bands by using these knobs right here. Like you move it up or down, it defines where your low band starts and ends, etc., etc. Then it's pretty much like a compressor. You have your gain. This you can boost up your low band, your mid band by adjusting these gain knobs. You can adjust the threshold of each band. You can adjust the compression ratio. You can do a lot of things, but for now I'm gonna use a preset 1.9 compression. Next thing you have is going to be your parametric EQ2. You're going to use this for boosting your 2K to 5K frequencies. That way your mix sounds brighter. And then last but not least, you have your limiter. So pretty much what your limiter is going to do is it's going to allow you to adjust the threshold for your overall mix, which is going to be this knob right here. Then you can adjust your gain, how loud or how quiet your mix is going to be, by adjusting this knob right here. And then you can even adjust the compression,